This is a whodunit.
It's a whodunit. It's a sleuth story.
A sleuth story with a most unexpected twist. The counterfeit glycerin, it turned out, had come from a country that the United States is helping to become a major trader in world markets, the People's Republic of China. This state-owned company in Beijing, Sinochem International Chemicals Company, sold the tainted glycerin, certifying it as 98% pure. But Sinochem wasn't the manufacturer, another Chinese company was, and the FDA wanted to know that company's identity so they could stop them from manufacturing any more of it. So a year ago last August, the U.S. Embassy in Beijing arranged for the FDA to meet with Sinochem and Chinese authorities.
And we said, you're buying from someone who isn't really selling glycerin. Help us with it. Help us figure out who made it. And both the Chinese authorities and Sinochem said, we weren't aware that this was a problem. If we figure it out, we'll let you know.
What do you mean, if we figure it out?
Well, that's what they said.
But U.S. officials had reason not to believe the Chinese. According to this document, a U.S. translator had concluded that Sinochem officials did know who had made the poison. But because the FDA has no jurisdiction in China, it couldn't force them to name the company. You've been asking, apparently, for about a year.
That's right.
And you're saying that the Chinese, who have to know the company that made this, are not telling you who it is?
We aren't certain who made it, no.
It is remarkable that we don't know today where this came from, and you know, it's more than a year after this happened.
Dr. Kim Soles, a physician in Edmonton, Canada, has worked to end poisonings like the one in Haiti.
The big concern is, do we know that this is stopped? We know that it's stopped in Haiti, but do we know that it's not still going on in other countries? The only way to know that is to find out where it came from in China and whether that source is still continuing to produce this toxic mixture.
Investigators had another reason to worry about Sinochem. According to this FDA memo, they learned that a German company had recently blacklisted Sinochem for trying to sell another impure pharmaceutical additive. But in Haiti, the obvious question is, why would anyone add poison to glycerin in the first place? Health officials say they see a profit motive. They found that in previous poisonings in other countries, diethylene glycol had been substituted for glycerin in medicine apparently because it was cheaper, at least 50% cheaper. The Chinese were not implicated in those incidents. Could it have been an accident that this was being done by whatever that firm was in China?
Sure, anything's possible.
But you're skeptical.
We're skeptical.
It was counterfeit. It was specifically designed to superficially look exactly the same as the non-toxic substance. This was something done on purpose, but the purpose was a monetary one. It was not with the intent to kill people.
We tried to talk to Sinochem in Beijing and to its sister company Sinochem USA in New York's World Trade Center, but they would not respond. Neither would the Chinese embassy in Washington nor the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Trade. But the Chinese aren't the only ones keeping silent. For more than a month, we tried to get an on-camera interview with the U.S. State Department so we could ask why they hadn't publicly pressured the Chinese to turn over the name of the manufacturer. Finally, a State Department spokesman told us there would be no interview. He said he couldn't find anyone, quote, interested in going on camera to discuss the subject.
To ignore it, I think, would be a crime.
Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, a Democrat, has frequently criticized administration policy toward China. We cannot get through the Iron Curtain at the State Department to have them make any kind of statement at all about any of this.
Well, the State Department is an arm of the administration, and the administration policy has been very clear on China, and that is that money rules.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the only consideration that is important in Washington, D.C. is the money that is involved in the U.S.-China trade.
The World Health Organization, of which China is a member, hasn't been aggressive either in trying to hold China accountable.
You'd think they would say, look, let us know who, why, what, how did it happen, and do it publicly.
Well, the WHO tends to be non-confrontational in these situations, and I think that's been the case here as well.
This is the sixth mass tragedy, mass poisoning in the 20th century from diethylene glycol. This shouldn't have happened, and unfortunately, the lives of children were lost, and if that doesn't move our State Department or move the President, and I know the President is concerned about children's issues.
Yes, he is.
If that doesn't move this country to determine who the manufacturer was, then I quite frankly can't tell you what would.
The worrisome part is it could happen to other kids. We don't want this to happen to any kids anywhere in the world. Unfortunately, it takes a wake-up call on the backs of babies to get governments to change what they do and how they do it.
I think about him lying next to me, hugging me, and kissing me. I dream of him putting on his father's shoes and hat and running around so that people can see him.
I know that my country is poor, but people should never forget that we're all human on this earth. Even though I may not find justice here in Haiti, up in heaven, in God's eyes, a crime is a crime.
You may speculate, what would the reaction be if this type of poisoning had happened here in the United States? Well, it did. 60 years ago, some 100 Americans died after diethylene glycol was put into an antibacterial medicine. The uproar here was so intense that it led directly to the passage of the historic Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, the most important drug safety law in this nation's history.